going to take it. Got it! Boston wins! Two legends in basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience.
The Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast, brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Let's get going. Turkey Day edition, brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks. Bob Ryan, Gary Tanguay. All right, here we go. Listen, no pun intended, but I understand you, on the week of the bird, you talked to a bird. What's going on with Larry?
Larry is laying low in Florida. He's a snowbird. He spends half the year in Indiana, and then, you know, they do the winter thing in Naples, where he's had a place for good, I'd say, 30 years. And which includes, by the way, a full movie screen, a movie.
Wow.
How, you know, a studio. With,
yeah.
It's kind of cool. Okay. We're just chatting because, you know, we haven't talked in a while. And I had two questions, two things that are on my mind. The first one was in the with this new All-Star game format, this nonsense, you know, they won't play they refuse to play a real basketball game. And so they've got to find some other way of doing this. And they don't care about the All-Star game. It's all about the dunk contest and the 3-point. And the game is, oh shit, we got to play a game, you know? I mean, and you know, they made a mockery of it. And I say I blame these players. If they wanted to play basketball, we'd have a game.
Sure.
They don't have any sense of personal pride. I don't understand it. So they give us 211 to 186 last year. And, you know, it's disgraceful. It's embarrassment to me. I mean, they should be embarrassed. Well, they're not going to do that anymore, and they're going to do some nonsense. Okay. So I went to Larry, and, you know, and I said, Larry, what was your attitude toward All-Star games? I wanted to win, period. Quote, unquote. I wanted to win.
Right.
I said, we played competitive games. No, you don't want anybody to get hurt. You didn't go nuts. You didn't go crazy. You didn't do stupid things, you know, but you played basketball and you wanted to win. Gee, how elementary is that? Well, we've gotten away from that. So I want to hear it from the horse's mouth, if you will, and a guy who, and that leads me to part B. In his first All-Star game in 1980 in Washington, Larry Bird made history. What was that, Bob? He made a three-pointer. I said one singular, a three-pointer that basically put the game away. Okay? And it was newsworthy. He hit a three. Wow. You know? Well, then we got into a discussion about the three. Now, here's the revelation that I love. Larry Bird said, well, hell, we never practiced threes. He said, the first time I practiced threes was prior to the first three-point contest in 1986. I never practiced threes. I just took them when they were there. And yeah, he said, today, high school kids, you know, it's the game. Everybody takes threes because that's the game. But in his day, it was a bad shot. A bad shot. He said in KC one time, it was funny, he said, made him laugh. He was in New York. And Casey told him, don't take so many stupid threes in so many words. Maybe he didn't use stupid, that's mine. But he basically said, you guys you're taking too many threes. First possession, Danny cranks a three. And Larry laughed like hell. He said, I couldn't believe it. It was great. So anyway, but now the game, you know, and I said, Larry, would you want to take 10 or 11? Not really, but, you know, he'd adapt. And of course, but that's just, so that's the difference in the game. Just think about that. He never practiced a three until he just happened to have that range.
Right. He had the gift. He used the form, and he wasn't greedy with it.
Oh, no. Every once in a while, I would get personally angry. A couple of threes would be taken early in the game that I said, you don't need that. And Larry would be guilty of it once in a while, not very often, but once in a while, you know. But that's the way. But
even like the greats, if you look, okay, I'm gonna say the last four great NBA players. Greats. Bird, Magic, Jabbar. Jabbar would come before them. Bird, Magic, Michael, LeBron. None are known for the three-point shot.
Well, Larry, I associate Larry with one. Yeah,
I guess. Yeah, but
one of the earlier exponents of it. And Larry, but here's the thing: I didn't get into it with him, and I should have. I thought he used it strategically. I thought Larry, in his mind, saved it for late in the game as a role, or a certain in the key at certain runs when he thought it was a good strategic weapon that he would use. And I thought he was the first great exponent of it in a strategic way. And there were other guys that liked it right away, but anyway, Magic certainly not. He developed into where he could make them once in a while. Michael had the famous game in the playoffs when he hit when he did hit the 5 in a row against Portland, and the famous shrug, the shrug thing. Yeah, sure. And LeBron has made himself into it. He had 3 in a row here tonight, right down the stretch.
Right, but none of these guys were.
That's not his identity. It's not. And far last in the world for Magic's identity. Magic's identity is passing, and Michael's is in all kinds of scoring, and that included the capability of making a 3, but not
defense,
but not a reliance on a 3.
Yeah, I mean, Steph's the first guy that you would. He's not in their class, but. Before the 3-point guy was a specialist, it was Chris Ford. It was Scott Wedman. Reggie Miller and Ray Allen were probably the most complete players where it was their thing. But even when Ray, and this is no disrespect to Ray, who I think should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm a Ray Allen guy. Ray was known as a 3-point shooter.
Oh, Ray was that was his identity.
That was his identity, but he was more than that. But I think Ray and Reggie Miller were the first guys known that's their identity.
Yeah, Now one, I tell you another guy that was very good and that happened to be Del Curry, Steph's father.
Steph's dad, yeah.
A few guys out there like that. When the merger took place, when the 3 came into being, one of the first guys in the ABA to make it an identity was Brian Taylor, and another guy was Louis Dampier. But Brian Taylor had an identity of it, and he brought it into the NBA because he did make it through with the Pacers. But anyway, you're right. Ray Allen, that's Ray's identity for sure. And he just got, Harden just passed him for the most.
Right.
And just this week. And it's funny with Harden, though, I still don't, he's done this, and I don't see that as his identity.
No.
You know what his identity is? Dribbling.
Right.
22 minutes on the 24. That's to me, that's his identity. Now they're in town as we speak.
Yeah, that's right.
They're in town as we speak. We'll see, and he's having another good year. But for what he's hard to like. I'm sorry, he's just hard to like.
I want to like him because I was hoping that the Nets thing would work out when he got there, and I thought, okay, with he and Kyrie and Durant, I thought they could do something because, as you had pointed out. Somehow, some way, he led the league in assists one year, and you don't believe it. You think that they're a phantom assists.
Yeah, I figured out.
But I want to like him too, and he just doesn't. I don't know. He can't get over the hump as far as the passion. Like he should have accomplished more than he has.
He's got a negative je ne sais quoi. You usually use that in a positive way about somebody. He's got that je ne sais quoi. He's got a negative one. I can't warm up to him.
Yeah,
but you have to give him his due. He's a Hall of Famer to make for sure, but not a totally likable one.
I know. I like him, but I know what you're saying. I always wish that he was able to. I don't know. I thought he was going to turn the corner. I thought he was going to be a dish machine with the Nets, but it just didn't work out. Bob, when you mentioned, are you good with Bird before I move on? Because what else?
That's the big thing was that the All-Star game. And the fact that they played it, he's disgusted. He was invited last year. He
wouldn't go.
He thought it was a joke, and it is a joke, and it's awful. And let
me ask you something about Bird. Has your relationship changed with him since you first met him?
We hadn't spoken in quite a while. We've texted a few times. I was texting him last year when Indiana State was having the best year they've had since first time I got back to, excuse me, got to do something here. The first time. No, he's just consciously removing himself from public view for the most part. He's not going out of his way to be seen. I'll tell you that. I think we will be speaking more often, and we had a very nice conversation, and I think we'll be speaking more often. But I like to think, that we're still literally we are friends. I like to feel that way, and he did confirm that for me. So that was reassuring. So
Yeah, but what was it like when you covered him, or were you a columnist then? You weren't on the beat. You were the
Oh no, I was his first beat man.
Oh, you were, okay.
In 1979, and I had his first 4 years until 80, and then I went to TV for that a year and a half at Channel 4. And then when I came back, I was a column. I had him. Opened his career, and I finished his career as a columnist, though.
Right.
But I opened as a beat man, and I was in on the ground floor of Larry, and of course, had one of the few people that had actually seen him play in person in Boston before he was drafted. And when I drove Jason Stark and Mike Madden out to Terre Haute for that famous game, we got stopped by the cops. So anyway, that's another story for another
That's
day.
a movie. That's a movie. There's a movie there somewhere.
That was the funniest. I opened the door. I got to tell it. Okay. So
I love it, man.
We go to the game, and it's
Did you hide the beer?
Indiana State, Illinois State NIT game at Indiana State. Larry wins it with a game-winning basket, and puts on a show. And we're driving back to Indianapolis about an hour and a half, whatever. And we had stopped in a convenience store, and we did pick up a couple of brewskis. And I was, in fact, taking a sip or two. And next thing you know, there's a blue light. Oh boy! Well, we were able to ditch the beers before the trooper got to the door. It was in the dark, and you guys going pretty fast. I said, oh, sorry, officer. We just came back from the Indiana State game, and we were talking, and I kind of lost, got track of the time. And he said, okay, you guys drive safe now.
That's it.
That was it. Welcome to Indiana Justice. We loved it.
Yeah, Indiana, you dropped that Indiana State. You were good.
Okay. Anyway, Larry and I hit it off right away. The first time I met Larry, it was to interview him for, are you ready? Us magazine in the summer of 1979. After he was
Whoa, wait a minute. Time out. Whoa. Bob Ryan wrote for Us magazine?
One time. That was it.
What, Tiger Beat turned you down?
I don't remember the details. All I know is that it was us, and the interview, he wanted it to take place at Bob Wolf's house.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want people into his house.
Right.
And he had just bought this house right around the corner from Bob Wolf.
Oh, yeah, neighbor.
In Newton. So I do the interview, and that's where we first met. And then when the season starts, we, our interaction, and we hit it off from day one. It was always great to me. So we, and at the end of the year, he said something very flattering to people. And he said, Bob Ryan could be a coach. Well, no, that's going a bit too far. But I think he appreciated my enthusiasm for basketball, and basically, I'd like to think my knowledge of basketball. But we hit it off right from day one.
Well, no doubt, Bob. I mean, you really, when you cover a sport, you throw yourself into it. I don't know if Tommy Heinsohn, the late great, would agree with that. But anyways, that's another story.
Oh, no. It is another story, because people have to know it ended well.
I know it ended well, but I always love that. Yeah, I just love, I miss Tommy so much. I just miss him. He was just such a big, in so many ways, he could be grumpy, he could be gentle. He was just like one of the all-time greats. And the fact that you ticked him off at some point, I just find it hilarious. Prize Picks, the best place to get real money sports action. 10 million members, billions of dollars in award winnings. Prize Picks has daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less. That's it. More or less, really simple, on at least 2 players for a shot to win up 100 times your cash. Prize Picks puts members first, so all withdrawals are safe, fast, and secure. You want your money quickly, right? Absolutely. When picks hit, you can get your cash in as quick as 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's a good $5.50. You make $45. Gary, you can do your math. You don't even need to win to get a $50 bonus. Think Stephen Curry will get more than 4 3-pointers? I think so. Anthony Edwards, more than 27 points? I'll leave that one up to you. Cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this basketball season with your crew as you run your game on Prize Picks. So download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today. Use code CLNS50 to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Okay, so I want to, when you talk about the three, and I was thinking about this year's Celtics team.
Oh, well, I did think of one of them.
Yeah, go ahead. What do you got?
But Larry said we used the three to open up the inside for Parrish and McHale.
Right.
The game was still inside out. That was the way you played basketball. That was the orthodox methodology for any successful team at any level, inside out.
Right.
Now the game is out, outer, and Caitlin Clark. I used to say Stephon Curry, but now it's Caitlin Clark. And the inside game is inconsequential in terms of direct feeding a pivot, you know. But he said, think about that. They used the game, they used it as a weapon to help out the big guys. So 180 from where we are now.
Oh, totally.
180.
So I'm reading, you know, the Celtics had the win over Minnesota. We're going to get to that game and Anthony Edwards in a minute. But I just want to talk about the three. Like, and Gary Washburn wrote about it today. It was in the Globe. I think Himmelsbach said something too about the fact that they're not hitting their threes. You know, so we know Jason Tatum won an NBA championship not shooting the three well, okay, which I find refreshing personally because he did it so many other ways, and we've talked about how great he was at nauseam, defensive rebounds, so forth and so on. Same thing with Brown. I mean, so the Celtics right now, I look at them, and especially with the win over Minnesota made a run, and they hung on, and they won at the end with defense. But the Celtics, right now, I think they're the best team in the NBA, and I don't think they're a great three-point shooting team, and I don't think they have to be.
Well, you might get an argument. I mean, they did something this year that nobody else does. 5 different guys had multiple threes in the starting lineup, and very few teams can do that.
Well, yeah.
Think about this. The first, let's see, 5, Pritchard, definitely the first 7 guys, and when they get Porzingis, 8 guys are all three-point capable shooters.
Well, no,
at least capable.
Right. Well, your argument,
outstanding.
Yes, your argument is they're deep. They're deep. Yes, you are correct. They're deep with decent three-point shooters.
Yeah, that
right.
They're deep team in the league. They have with 8.
Right. 8. But like, I don't think Jason Tatum. I don't think of Brown and Tatum. I think they are finally getting it that they're complete players. It's not just about the three.
Oh no, it's not just. Although we are speaking after a game in which Brown opens up the game, doing something I've never seen in 60 years of going to the best NBA games. One person scores the first 15 points of his team's points on 5 threes.
Right, but then they go south. They're not consistent.
And they went south immediately. No, and by the way, nobody else scored for until about 3 minutes to go in a period. But I'm just saying it was bizarre. But the fact is that he opened up the game with 5 threes.
Right.
It was Brown 15 and in Minnesota 8, I think, at one point. And you'll never see, I've never seen that. Now I know it's not the first time someone hit 5 threes. Ray Allen did it for the Celtics, and Kevin Love once made 8. But I'm just saying, being in the first 15 points of a game, I'm wondering if that's ever happened in either in any league that had the 3. I'm wondering.
It's a fair point. I think, but the way I look at the Celtics now is if they're making threes, they're unbeatable. Unbeatable. You can't beat them. But when they're not making threes, they are still pretty damn good. That's what I'm taking from all of this. And I think they get it. I think that they won that game with defense. They won a game over Minnesota with defense.
They won a game, right? They have to be truly great. You can't be one dimensional naturally. Right. And when they are in the threes, let's say we're an opening night, when that was devastating. Nobody could beat them that night. Nobody was beating them the opening night the way they shot the 3. And they had a game recently where they were shooting, 69% deep into the third quarter, and then but sooner or later they stop falling. Then you have to go to Plan B, and then plus, not to mention, as you just pointed out accurately, you have to win games with defense, and they did last night in the end. They're not playing all that well at the moment, but the by the standards that they've established. They got to pick it up. They've gotten away with a couple lately, is what I'm saying. Definitely got away with it.
Right. So that's actually, thank you for segueing into my next question. Despite the fact that they've gotten away with a couple of games, and they even lost a game in overtime to the Pacers, right, in which they did not play well.
Right.
They still only have 3 losses. They have the second best record next to the Cavaliers, who they beat.
Right.
So are we at the point with the Celtics that we can say that when they play awful, they still find a way to win?
Yeah, they are in concert with the Kansas City Chiefs, I think, who don't have to play their best game to win. But that's a universal in all sports, in my opinion. If I've learned some things along the way, is that teams can get to a level where they're so good that they don't have to bring their A game. They can win with anything starting with the B+ game and they go down, and depending on who they're playing and that night and all that, they're good enough to get away with that kind of performance. This is not unprecedented. This is professional sport reality.
I agree. I think that's a great point. I think there's no doubt about it.
How many times during the course of the marathon that we know as the baseball season do we know that was ugly? In fact, the phrase came out of baseball. I think it was a White Sox team, Gary. Was it that somebody first said winning ugly? Who was the?
I don't remember, Bob.
We're going to have to look this up now that I brought it up, because it should be able to look it up as to who gave us the phrase winning ugly in sports. But it was baseball, I think, somebody. And it's true of all sports that you can a really good team can win ugly, and if you win ugly consistently, and some teams,
right.
So we got to look at winning ugly.
Yeah,
but winning ugly right now, and sooner or later it's going to bite.
Yes. Here we go. You're correct. The term was first used by Texas Rangers manager Doug Rader. In reference to the West Division winning 1983 Chicago White Sox. You nailed it. White Sox.
And Doug, he was a character, by the way.
Oh, he was a did he catch for the Red Sox?
No.
Was he a catcher?
I don't think so. He might have passed through quickly, and I don't remember.
I thought he was a catcher.
But when he was a third baseman, though. When
I got to look it up. They were 99 and 63, winning ugly. La Russa was the manager.
Yeah, and okay, well, right, okay, well, okay. I just knew it came. Well, that's now 40 years now. We've been living with the phrase "winning ugly," and
winning ugly.
People can relate to it in all 4 major sports, and I guess you can throw in soccer, which I cannot speak to in that regard, but I'm guessing that it's equally true there.
Douglas Lee Rader, the Red Rooster.
That's it. He had a nickname. I knew it was.
Third baseman. You were correct. Known for his defensive ability, 5 straight Gold Gloves from 70 to 74.
Ooh.
Wow. Okay. There you go.
No, good. Doug Rader. Well,
the Red Rooster.
Who knew he was going to show up in a basketball podcast?
Best nicknames are in baseball. Best nicknames are always in baseball.
Well, historically, oh God, yeah.
Anyway, but what I wanted to say, about the Celtics was, boy, with Jaylen Brown, when they clamped down defensively, and I think it's just typical of a team. I think it's typical of a team that's defending a championship to have nights like they did against Minnesota. I mean, I think that, I don't know. I think it's just hard when everybody's trying to defeat you 82 straight games. I think there's a lot of fatigue with that.
Oh yeah, no, it's not this. There's many reasons why teams have trouble repeating, and no, it's true. This is a test. And you're going to have these lulls. You're going to have ups and downs.
Correct. You know who I think is, and I'm not even looking at numbers. I am just totally giving you the eyeball. If I had to pick one guy to make a 3 on the Celtics, it'd be White.
Funny you mention that. I watching the game last night. He had a big shot, and I said to my wife, "I want to adopt him. I want to file the papers tomorrow. I want to adopt him. He is so eminently likable in every way. Holiday too. I mean, but I'm just something about him. But you're right. He's a guy I want taking a big shot from that team.
Oh, Friday night, 2 big threes at the end of the night. Was that Friday night I watched that game? Yeah, Friday night. I mean, 2 big threes at the end. I think it was Friday night. He's money, man. That dude is money. There's no doubt about it. So let's talk about. I want to talk about Minnesota for a minute. And everybody talked about, Anthony Edwards, and they love to talk about his one-on-one style and so forth. And I don't think that Jason Tatum gets the respect that Edwards gets as an individual player. But Minnesota's 8-8, and they made that deal. And I don't know if that deal's working out for either team.
The Knicks are, they're something of a disappointment. Their big issue. It's not offense though; it's defense. And I read the New York papers faithfully. I read the Post every day, and they keep harping on the defense, because they've had some tremendous back-to-back 130s this week. Okay, scoring.
Yeah,
it's just been porous, and it's not been what it was. And I don't know that that's because of Randall or DiVincenzo not being there. They thought they had improved on defense by adding Bridges to go with Anunoby. A year ago at this time, they didn't have either one of those guys, and they were specific. And Bridges specifically was brought in to help guard Tatum and Brown, to help to give them some match up against Tatum and Brown. He and Anunoby. Yeah. But Minnesota. I'll tell you why. I'm glad you brought them up. It seems to be so much controversy about him. And the final analysis, Rudy Gobert is pretty damn good. He doesn't have any great individual offense. He's a putback and guy and all that. But boy, he's a rebounder, and boy, he scares the crap out of you guarding that rim. And I came away impressed with them, and Edwards he's a machine. He's a machine.
But Bob, something like that. I was checking. I go, wow, they're 500. Last year they got bounced in the quarterfinals.
It's disappointing, definitely. After
they look great all year. I remember throughout the season we were talking about them. When are they going to fade? When are they going to fade? Well, they didn't fade. They faded in the playoffs is when they faded. But during the regular season, they were lights out.
Now, give them their due. They came in here shorthanded. They did not have a very important part of their puzzle, which is Mike Conley.
Underrated.
They did not have Mike Conley, and so they can, rationalize. If I'm a Minnesota fan, after that game, we almost beat the Celtics in Boston. We didn't have Mike Conley. I'm not feeling too bad about Mike if I ever had to play the Celtics again. So got to give him credit. They didn't have Conley, and he is an important part of that puzzle. He really is. Even at 36. He doesn't have to be the Mike Conley of 8 years ago, but he gives them something they really need.
If you're looking for tickets to see your favorite team wherever you are in the country, Boston, Chicago, LA, New York, the best time you will have is if you go to Game Time. The Game Time app, it's real simple. It's got a nice G on there. Think Gary, think Game Time. There you go. And all you have to do is download the Game Time app, and you just set it up for yourself. So, like if you're in Boston, for example, you have all the Boston games, you have Boston College, you have the Bruins, you have the Celtics. If I go to it right now, I know there's some Celtics tickets. They're playing the Clippers. I get some Celtics tickets on there for $82 to see the Clippers. Celts, Clippers, $82. You're going to have a great time at that game and on the Game Time app. So here's how it works. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff that you usually get when you're looking for tickets. You can look through like thousands of ticket situations. They'll just deliver great seats to you right away because you punch in what you want. Game Time knows you. So when you go to the website or you go on your phone, they know what you want already when you sign in. They have the view of your seats. Just boom. Like you're sitting there. Do I want these seats? Yes, I do. Boom. The lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's Game Time. Have you had a chance to see what's going on in Houston?
Well, a little bit. And I'm looking at their rosters, and somebody's doing some good drafting. If you go back, this is a team you can root for. I could root for this team. And, Jalen Green was the second pick in the draft. He's proving he's worthy of that. Okay. Alperen Sengun was a sixth pick in the draft, actually for OKC, but he's averaging 18 points a game when you're not looking. And I guess Fred VanVleet has been a threat although did you hear see what the dumb thing he did last night?
I didn't. What did he do?
Well, he got carried away. He thought he had been fouled at the end, and the call did not come. They lost the game, and he ran over it. And after pointing at every ref, he got too close to referee John Connolly and actually made contact, poking him in the eye. Oh, he's going to. This is going to be suspension and fine.
Oh yeah, it's got to be. Well, you got to.
He went. You can. This is easy. YouTubeable to see.
Yeah. No, it's easy.
Not good. But he's still a force. But here's what I like. They got 7 guys averaging between 11 and 18 points a game. They have balance, and it always drives me crazy when people say, well, they don't have a go-to guy. They got 7 go-to guys. You know what I'm saying? That there's 2 ways to play. You have an Anthony Edwards, and by the way, we're going to get to the end of that game and how the Celtics managed to take care of getting him out of the way.
Right.
And that's good balance. And also they got a guy. You got to love anybody with the name of Amen Thompson. You got to love Amen. Amen. You got to love him. And of course, they got the infamous Dylan Brooks, who's an agitator, and they've got a coach. We knew he could coach.
Well, yeah, we know. Yeah, obviously. he's the guy that, yeah.
They're rootable. I don't know how far they're going to go, but they're not easy to play. And once again, it's a team. If I'm a Rockets fan, I like my team.
Right, I got a team. Well, you want to talk about Jaylen Brown. We'll get back to that. But the defensive thing to me, but even I get so frustrated with people that don't really understand basketball, because I'm a basketball lifer. It's my favorite sport. I played it forever. I was with the Celtics for a long time, and people that don't understand the game or don't take the time to understand the game, because it's not a complicated game to understand. It's not. They always, and this, I blame David Stern. It turned the league around, but it was always Magic, Larry, Michael, LeBron, and the marketing was great. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But Michael was scoring 50 a game, but he wasn't winning anything until Phil Jackson got there, and he started dishing the ball to his guards and Kerr and moving the ball and making big shots. So, you could talk about that all you want. Same thing with Magic. You talk about the dynasty. How many weapons did they have? So when people talk about Anthony Edwards and the one-on-one stuff, he ain't enough. You can't do it alone. Even LeBron didn't do it alone. He had Dwayne Wade. He had Bosh. You can't do it alone. And that's the thing. That's what pisses me off when people want to talk about Anthony Edwards versus the Celtics. They did it with Jason Tatum in a shooting slump. Anthony Edwards is never going to win a title until he has a team. I'm sorry, I'm off my soapbox.
You make a great point, and it amplifies what I've been saying about the difference between Michael and LeBron and their path to the mountaintops, their respective mountaintops. And in Michael's case, he didn't win until he learned how to share.
Right.
The 1987 Michael and 88 Michael is not making those passes to Steve Kerr and John Paxson that won championships for them. But the 91 Michael and 2 finally figured it out. You've got to rely on, I got to show faith in my guys, particularly when I have these great shooters. Okay. And LeBron, in my judgment, did not win until he was the opposite.
Yeah, the way around. Yeah.
Responsibility of being the best player on the floor, not deferring. He quit in 2010 against the Celtics. I'm sorry, he did. And he did not want the ball the way he should have against the Mavericks in 2011.
Right.
And I don't know what got to him, whether he figured it out himself or who got to him. But that was the moment. From that point on, after that series, and then now he starts figuring it out. But you're absolutely right about Anthony Edwards, because it is very analogous to Michael in terms of that individual offensive ability. You got to be able to share, and you got to demonstrate faith in your. And you have
to have the guys to share the ball with.
Oh yeah, and the other thing about Michael that always has to be pointed, Scottie Pippen, rather important piece. He was a pretty good Batman to that Robin, a Robin to that Batman.
Yeah, he was
pretty damn good, and so that was. But still, Michael was the guy, and when people knew that Michael believed in them, that team got good. They started winning championships.
There's no question. What your thoughts on how the game closed out with the Celtics? And
Well, they wanted to get the ball out of Anthony Edwards' hands, and they did, and that's the optimum. I was worried. 7 seconds. Oh my God! We all know how much can happen in 7 seconds. And I was angry with the team for blowing the lead. I was. You damn guys. I won't go so far as to say I wanted them to lose, but it would have been. I frankly think Minnesota deserved to win as much as they did. But basketball, the game comes down to that, and they made the defensive move that they needed to make, and that we talked about defense earlier, and they're capable of that, and they did it, and they walked off, they sneaked away with one, but as you pointed out, it's because they are a consummate all-around team. They're not just a one-dimensional team.
Right. In our text chain, you wanted to talk about 20-year-old Jared
Hey.
McClain.
My God, this sneaked up on me. Now, last time we met, I was championing Dalton Connect,
Right.
and what a great rookie year he's having, and how he's on this run with the Lakers. And then that later on, somehow I was looking at something, and they mentioned McCain, and I looked up. How come I wasn't paying attention? I blew it. This guy is averaging, coming off the bench for Philly. By the way, he's the 16th pick. The whole thing was he's the 16th pick in the draft.
Right.
And Connect is the 17th, and they are clearly 1-2 in the rookie of the year if we had it today. And by the way, McCain has to do it unanimously when I'm about to give you some numbers. And McCain is averaging 16.6 points a game in 24 minutes of playing time. Okay. Here's his last 10 games. His last 10 games. You ready? 18, 27, 23, 34, 23, 20, 20, 20, 30. And then he had a bad night last night. He was 3 for 15. He had 18 points. He's averaging over 25 points a game the last 10 coming off the bench in 24 minutes a game. But the 76ers, for a team that's going nowhere, so no one's paying attention except perhaps, Philadelphia Press. But I didn't know.
And Bob Ryan.
And I was alerted to it. I wasn't like on top of it. I had to be introduced to it. This is this is amazing. So who is he? Well, he's a guy who was the 16th pick of the draft, out of Duke, 1 year. He was a 5-star player. He's a 6'6" guy. But, let's give him some credit here. That's a hell of a run. And no one outside of Philly, if anybody in Philly's even, because all they're dwelling is about, everything that's wrong with Philly, which is plenty, and that he can't win, and that he's not doing it for a winning team. But my God, these are some staggering numbers, I think, and no one's even talking about it.
Bob, before we go, I do want to talk about a guy that I was very fortunate to meet and work with when he would come on television with us. But you worked with him for many years at the Globe, and that's Larry Johnson.
Oh,
and I just have to say, before Bob has much more to say than I do, is that since leaving sports talk radio, I loved what I did, but I'm a much happier person. I really did. Doing the whole sports talk TV every night, we had to, Larry would come in and he'd be like, "Hey guys, what's up? It's all good." Just just the best, the sweetest, the nicest, the greatest guy to have on, just so understanding, so compassionate, so talented.
Wow.
And I'm just glad that I knew him. So
some people just light up a room, and you're right. I echo absolutely everything you said about his personality and his class and his talent in a field that's dead now. That field doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But he was really, he could go to his grave saying that he was one of the last great practitioners of that art of sports cartooning. It's a sad lost art that there's no more room for it anymore. But what wonderful stuff with the Globe had it going for 50 years. It had the greatest of all time was a guy named Gene Mack, and the stuff that he did is just phenomenal. I've got some great examples of it at home, thank God, and I've got one everlasting souvenir. Thank you, Larry. When I retired the first time from the Globe, thinking I wasn't coming back in 1982, one of the gifts I got was a wonderful encompassing cartoon of my then Globe 14-year career that hangs prominently in my office, and nobody's going to have that again. By the way, another say hello for our local audience. One other guy from that era apparently is about to turn or has turned 99. Eddie Germano from Brockton was
Right.
also
Sure.
very skilled cartoonist.
He
But
did
when
the Red Sox. He was always the guy that did the Red Sox game day stuff.
Yeah, Eddie was terrific.
Sure.
But when I got to Boston in '64 as a freshman at BC, Vic Johnson at the Herald, and they had another one. They had a couple. It was just a whole different world. But Larry, you're right. He wasn't a nicer person, and what a good presence on Sport Talk Radio. He kind of brought a little antiseptic nature to talk radio.
Well, yeah, I mean,
on a Saturday morning.
And Mustard Johnson. I mean, a shout out to Craig. And Craig has been talking about Larry in the papers, as he should. I mean, he's not as he should. I mean, he worked with him for 25 years, is what I'm saying. So he knew Larry very well, and he talked about how Larry, that the Saturday morning show with like Mustard and Johnson was kind of like, you go to the dump, and you go to the hardware store, you make your rounds, and you had them on, and it was like. It wasn't, the Big O and you guys yelling at each other or Felgy or Maz. It was the perfect Saturday morning show. It was perfect. I mean, we were better for it.
There wasn't a malicious bone in Larry Johnson's body. And, he just that's his outlook on life. And he graced us with this wonderful art and sense of humor. It's clever. It was terrific. And so I was very sad to hear about Larry.
Well, a life well lived, and condolences to his family. One of the greats. Okay, Bob, we'll talk to you at the end of the week. We're going to track down Mr. Goodman. Yes. And yes, the three amigos will be riding post-holiday. Good luck, by the way, with your Thanksgiving soiree.
I'd say, well, it's going to be very interesting for us. So we're looking forward to it. Okay.
All right, take care, Bob.